Hey guys, Morgan from Rebellious Reading. We talk about all things books. And today we're going to have a nighttime edition of my book choosing game, the Multifaceted TBR game. So, I tried to film this a few days ago, but then I noticed that apparently my camera wasn't on for half of the game. Yeah, that was really annoying. And so I'm filming it again 5 days into April. Wish me luck. So, for starters, let's talk about how I did last month. Surprise, surprise, I didn't manage it. Out of the... let me start by saying that I decided to switch some of the rules after last month's horror show of a game. I ended up with 27 books, but after I implemented the new rules, which included the whole character picks going on for 2 months instead of 1, and also only reading 1 book for 1001 books you have to read before you die a month instead of 2, 7 books were removed from my TBR, so I was stuck with 20. And yet, I still didn't manage. I got through 11 of them, and normally I would roll the 9 that I still have to read over, but this month, after I played this month's game for the first time and lost half of the footage, I decided to implement a rule that says I'm allowed to get rid of all of my rollovers and not read them after every 3rd month. So, even though I started in February, I'm counting this as the 3rd month because March is a quarter of the way through the year. So every quarter of the way through the year, I get to get rid of my rollovers. Meaning no rollovers for me this month, even though I didn't finish 9 books. And yes, this does mean the Emily Henry reading blog and the Dragon reading blog are canceled, but I will give you my thoughts on the books I did read for those. Beach Read was a 9 out of 10. That's my favorite Emily Henry book thus far. I really enjoyed the angst behind it. People We Meet on Vacation was not as good, but still really good. And for the Dragon books, The Fire Within by Krista Lacey is pretty good, though I have a feeling the other books are going to be better. I remember them being better when I read them in junior high. And did I read any of the other Dragon books? No. So, yeah, that gets that out of the way. And I'm also planning on doing a tier list where I rank all 30 books I read within the first quarter of this year. So, look out for that. And anyway, now that we got that out of the way, let's talk about what I'll be reading this month. First and foremost, we have my year-long challenges, those being Buzzwordathon, the Book Covered Book Club, and Genreathon. And for Buzzwordathon, this is a readathon hosted by Books and Lala. It basically just takes a buzzword, and you have to read a book with that buzzword in the title. And this month, it's nature-related words. So, for this, I'm going to read Ice Planet Barbarians by Ruby Dixon. Yeah, I've heard a lot of people talk about this, and I've been nervous about picking it up, but when I saw that it was on Everand, and that the audiobook was only 5 hours long, I couldn't resist. Besides, it has planet in the title, which, according to Books and Lala, counts as a nature word. So, Ice Planet Barbarians it is. And then for the Book Covered Book Club hosted by the Lit Review, For this one, I'm gonna be reading Wildfire by Hannah Grace. This is the sequel to Icebreaker. I read that in March, and it was okay. It had some good things and some bad things about it. 6 out of 10 kind of book. But I am curious to continue since that was Hannah Grace's debut novel, and who knows how much she's improved for her second one. So, I'm gonna give Wildfire a try because it has the color peach fuzz on the cover, which is the prompt for Book Cover Book Club. And then for Genreathon, hosted by Whitney from Tibber's Den, we have The Voyage of the Dawn Treader. Let's see if I can find it. Here it is. The Voyage of the Dawn Treader by C.S. Lewis. This month's genre is Christian fiction, and I'm pretty sure Chronicles of Narnia counts. This is the 5th book in the series, though it's in a different spot if you read them in publication order. I'm reading them chronologically. So, I read the first 4 and I gave all of them like an 8 out of 10. So, yeah. I have hopes that this one will be as well. And now we get to Tales from Two Trails. This is a game hosted by Kim from Expedition Through Pages, and I'm on Team B, and my prompts are a book that's related to water, and for that I'm once again going with Voyage of the Dawn Treader, because, come on. It takes place on a boat. You can't get much more watery than that. For a new release, which means a release that's a year old or less, I'm going to be reading Wildfire by Hannah Grace. Again, it came out only a few months ago, so yeah, I think that'll work. And for the final prompt, this is the hard one because it's right on the Lake of Doom. But basically, I have to ask someone to suggest me a book, and I have to read whatever they suggest me. Luckily, I asked my uncle, and he decided to be nice to me and recommend me this little children's non-fiction thing called The Witchcraft of Salem Village by horror author Shirley Jackson. And yeah, this is exactly what it sounds like. It's about the Salem witch trials, and it's not even 200 pages. Let's see how many pages this is. 144. So yeah, nice and short. So I should be able to get through it easily. And then we get to my readathons. I'm only participating in one of them this month, aside from Stephanie's Book versus Patreon readathon, which she says she might do one of those this month. If she does, I'm participating in that, but I can't plan that because it's just in the moment, kind of. But for the one other readathon I'm participating in, the Magical readathon, I'm in school for this readathon to be an elemental master, I think is what they call it. And for that I have to take elemental studies, meaning read a book with a source of light on the cover, and for that I'm going with the second book in the Last Dragon Chronicles. I read The Fire Within last month and really enjoyed it. So, from what I remember, Icefire is even better. Meaning I'm looking forward to this. This is a series about little clay dragons created by these two people. And from what I remember, it starts out basically like a kid's book, think Peter Rabbit, but then it gets more like a typical fantasy series with every book, so yeah, I look forward to some more world building in this one. And then, for shape-shifting, I have to read a book that by an author who blurbed my last 5-star read. So my last 5-star read was I'm Glad My Mom Died by Jeanette McCurdy. And one of the authors that blurbed that was, let me see if I can figure out her name here. It was blurbed by Ginny Lawson, who is the author of a book called Broken in the Best Possible Way, which happens to be on Everend, so I'm gonna listen to that one for that. And then for animal studies, I have to read a book with a yellow title. And for that, I'm gonna challenge myself and read one with a gold title, but gold's a shade of yellow, it counts. The City of Brass. Yeah, this is an ancient Egyptian-inspired fantasy. It's set in Cairo in, like, hundreds of years ago. And there's gin. Like, come on, this sounds awesome. And then, for astronomy, I have to read a book that I don't even remember the prompt for this one. I just wrote down the name of the book. But it's An Extraordinary Union by Alyssa Cole. This is a historical romance set during the Civil War. It's got a black woman as the protagonist, I think, judging by this cover. And you might remember this as one of my character picks from last month, but remember, I chose to make it so that the character picks can last for 2 months instead of 1. So, I took it off last month's TBR, so now it's going on this month's. And then I forgot to get this book out. I do own it, but I'll just put the picture here. For restoration, I have to read a book I think can get me out of a reading slump, and that is Rising Storm by Aaron Hunter. This is the 3rd book in the Warrior Cats series. Sorry guys, my camera battery died. But anyway, Rising Storm, 4th book in the Warrior Cats series. And this is a series about cats who live in the forest, and there's clans and rivalries and stuff, and there's a lot of intense battles. Kinda gory for a middle grade, actually. But yeah, this is what I'm going with. I enjoyed the first 3 books. And then for my 1001 Books challenge, I'm putting Callerho back on. This is an ancient Greek novel from the 1st century, and apparently it's a romance, so that should be interesting. And then we get to my character picks. So, as I said last month, April and May's character is going to be a girl named Elaine. She is obsessed with social justice history and feminism and Black Lives Matter and stuff. And she's also a soccer player. So, her character picks are going to be The Perks of Being a Wallflower, She Came to Slay, which this is an autobiography of Harriet Tubman, not an autobiography, but a biography of Harriet Tubman, in case you were wondering. The Seven Husbands of Evelyn Hugo by Taylor Jenkins Reid. This is a historical fiction about a fictional movie star who ends up interviewing this guy, or this guy ends up interviewing her. Wow, I'm doing a great job explaining this. And then there's An Extraordinary Union, which I already mentioned, and My Dark Vanessa. This is a literary fiction inspired by the Me Too movement, And yeah, it's apparently very dark. Serious trigger warnings for child sex abuse. And then we get to my reading vlog, which hopefully I'll actually be able to do this month. That being the 21 Pilots reading vlog, where I read a book for every 21 Pilots album, all 6 of them. So for the self-titled, I'm gonna read The Voyage of the Dawn Treader. And again, this is Christian fiction, and 21 Pilots as a band in their early years were very much a Christian band. It wasn't like now where they just throw some subtle hints in here and there. No, they were full-on Christian at that point. And for regional at best, I'm going to read The Hobbit by J.R.R. Tolkien, because like The Hobbit, regional at best was the band's early work. It's not quite as good as some of the later stuff, but still good. So The Hobbit is kind of to Lord of the Rings what regional at best is to 21 Pilots' later albums. And then for Vessel, I'm going to read The Perks of Being a Wallflower. This one's supposed to be really sad and angsty, which fits most of 21 Pilots' music, but I think it fits Vessel the best. And then for Blurry Face, I'm going to read The Diary of a Young Girl by Anne Frank. I got this back when I was still hating on Dust Jackets, hence why it doesn't have one. But the idea behind this choice is Anne Frank mentions in this book that she sometimes feels like 2 separate people. And Blurry Face is a concept album about this character named Blurry Face who lives inside of Tyler Joseph. So yeah, that makes sense. And then for Trench, I'm gonna go with 1984 by George Orwell. This is a dystopian, and Trench is a dystopian-inspired concept album. So yeah, that's basically the connection. And then for Scaled and Icy, I'm gonna read Stolen Air by Sophie Lark. This is a dark romance, and Scaled and Icy kind of has this thing where it takes some things that sound like traditionally happy, and then makes them dark. Sort of like Stolen Air does with romance. So I figured that made sense. Anyway, let's play the board games and hope that we can actually see them. But first, I'm gonna have to go backwards on a couple of these, because I did not read Hidden Pictures by Jason Recolak, which was my pick for the last month's version of the spooky game here. So, for this one, I'm gonna have to go backwards. Let's see how far backwards I have to go. Okay, so last time we were here, this orange bunny was on the under 5 years old square. So, we're gonna have to go backwards from there. Let's roll the dice. 11. Normally I'd be happy, but since we're going backwards, 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, we're right back at the start. And for those of you who don't know what happens when we go back to the start, that means I have to use a random number generator to pick one of the prompts on this board. So, let's bring out the random number generator. $37. Okay, so we got spot 37. So this is the first 12 spots. This is the next 12, the thriller section here. 36 over here. So we have to read a true crime book that's over 5 years old. Can do. Okay, so for an over 5-year-old, wait a minute, was that over? Yeah, over 5-year-old true crime book. We're gonna read In Cold Blood by Truman Capote. I read this one in school, but I think I'll enjoy it more if I'm not being forced to read it. So, this is about two guys who commit murder, and the trial leading up to it, and what led to them becoming murderers, basically. So, yeah, this sounds interesting. It's also the first ever true crime book, so there's that. And now we move on to the other one I have to move backwards for. I did not finish Rebel Hearts, so we're going backwards on this one too. Okay, so we're on nonfiction. Let's see how far back we have to go. 7. Well, at least we ended up on a free spot. So, let's just pick something. Okay, so for my Rainbow TBR, I'm picking the same book I picked last time. Rebel Hearts by Kevin Toulis. This is an IRA book I borrowed from my aunt. I keep meaning to read it. And, yeah, hopefully this will be the month. And now for Land of April. So, let's go over this board. The first 12 spots are all spring related, the next 12 are Easter related, the next 12 are all super intellectual and classic April Fools, late April Fools I should say, because this is actually a bunch of stuff that isn't books, just to make an April Fool's joke. Yeah, I'm late. But anyway, the next up is Aries related prompts, and then there's some miscellaneous prompts that are also related to April. So, let's... Where's my dice? Seriously, what happened to my dice? I see my bunny, but I don't see... Oh, there it is. Okay, so we were on this specific spot when we did Land of March. And this time we get to go forwards. So, yay! 11! Ooh, big number. Subtract book! Excellent! I get to take a book off of this TBR. And I don't have to pick a book for this, so... Yay! Okay, so for my next roll, I got Subtract book, and for that I'm subtracting In Cold Blood by Truman Capote. Yeah, it's not for any of my other challenges, and I need to read Rebel Hearts anyway. So, yeah. In Cold Blood is going off of this TBR. And finally, we have the other one I'm going forward on. The genre game. So, let's see where we end up on this one. Okay. So last time we were here, we landed on a horror, thriller, or mystery with psychological elements. And we're going forward, so we'll see what we get. 6. 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6. And we get a fantasy. That's easy enough. I can just put one of the books I already have on here. Okay, sorry about that. My camera once again got filled up. And I had to delete some more stuff from it. And at first I thought it was out of batteries because I thought there's no way I would fill up this camera twice. But yeah, I did. So, in the time it took me to charge the battery and then empty the camera, I was able to count how many books I have. 18. So, I've seen worse. In fact, last time I played this for this month, when half of the footage got cut out, I had 19. So this is an improvement. Anyway, that's my video. Don't forget to comment, like, and subscribe, and check out my Patreon. I'm Morgan from Rebellious Reading, and I'm out.